Tim with Ace Appliance in Toledo, Ohio, and welcome back to another in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com. The tools you'll need to properly check for leaks on this Frigidaire stove are a 1/4-inch nut driver, a flashlight, a painter's tool, a common screwdriver, and a leak detector. So we are on a Frigidaire oven that is propane, and the customer complaint is that they're smelling gas. So we're just gonna start on the top and start checking for leaks. So we're gonna remove the grates and all the burner caps. Next, we're going to remove all of the bolts that hold the orifices on so that we can pull the lid and check for leaks. If you don't remove the orifices, you'll bend and break all of the tubes that are on the manifold. I also recommend doing it by hand because these bolts can break really easy. They're in aluminum housing, and once you snap them off, that's it. So we'll just go around and manually take them all off. At least start them manually, then you can use your electric drill if you'd like. So once all of those are off, we'll take our putty knife or painter's tool and depress the clips in the corner to release the entire cooktop, and now we can safely remove that without worrying about damaging the manifold or gas lines. And we have an electronic leak detector that we're just going to go around and check all the hoses or all the lines, the manifold, every connection. So we're continuing to check for any kind of leaks. Right now our main gas would be just sitting in the manifold waiting to go into the lines when you open them up. And so far we've found no leaks in the in the manifold or the main gas line coming into the manifold. So we're gonna button this part back up and continue to check the regulator and gas line and stuff coming into the back. So we're gonna put our main cooktop back on, and we'll just line it up and re-secure on our tabs. All of these orifices float, so they're not going to line up perfect as soon as you put them back in. I just get at least one screw started on each one, and that way we know that they'll all line up before we actually tighten them down. All of them started and it's all lined up, so we can go and tighten them now. These screws do not need to be torqued down real heavy. They just need to hold these guys into position, because if you ever have to take them off later, there might be problems. So just get them on there firm, and once these are all on, we'll put the burner caps back on, put the grates on, pull this oven out, and continue to check the gas line and regulator, and these all line up right with the spark igniter. Put the grates back on. Now we're going to pull our oven out and check the main gas line and regulator. So now that we have the stove pulled out and have access to the main portion of the gas line, just to do a complete and thorough check, we're going to remove the back panel here, and that way we'll be able to check absolutely everything. And these are just 1/4 inch. So Once that panel is off, we can set that to the side and remove the last portion of this panel. Now we have access to every portion of the lines, and we'll continue with our leak checks. This way there's no doubt that we can check absolutely everything. And this will make an audible sound if we find one, and a red indicator light. You can also use, other forms of leak detection, soapy bubbles, or other approved leak detection methods. And this is a pretty sensitive little checker. I found some really minute leaks with it before, so I'm confident in its use. Alright, so we're also going to check all around the entire gas line and leading up to the gas shutoff valve. And so far so good, so we'll continue to check. We got one more major part to check inside of the oven, and we'll go from there. So we've thoroughly leak checked all of the lines leading into the stove and the gas line. I have found no leaks yet, so we're going to reinstall both back panels. And these are just 1/4 inch. Since it's a Frigidaire, you could also use a square bit. And we'll put this one on. The only tricky part to putting this back panel on is to make sure that this front tab is underneath so that it secures correctly. So now we'll be careful, put the stove back into position and check the inside components. Okay, so now we're going to continue checking for leaks inside of the compartment. And on this stove, we can actually remove the whole front to make it a little easier. And they have these little pins that you just need to push up on, so that we can just remove we'll just pull this down and this side down, and then when we pull up, we can now remove the whole door for easier access. And we'll take out the racks. And now there's 2 bolts in the back to secure the burner plate. We'll loosen those guys. So with those loosened, we can remove this whole panel. And we have 2 1/4 inch bolts to secure the flame spreader. We'll remove those. Get this guy out of the way. And now we have access to the whole, all the lines up here. There will not be gas pressure on them, but we're just being as thorough as possible here. All this should only have gas in it when it's actually in use. And there's no leaks there, so we're just going to continue by pulling out the bottom drawer and we're going to lift up to disengage the tabs on the side so that we can fully remove this, and we'll get underneath there and continue our leak checking. So down at the bottom here we have access to our gas safety valve and pressure regulator. So we're going to get down here and continue our leak checking. Now we're going to move over to our regulator over here. And there's a little cap that says do not remove. Just remove that for now. So right now we've checked every single component on this stove and found no leaks. About the only thing we can do now is check and see if maybe there's a leak in the line in the basement or something, but as far as the appliance, all leak checks good. So now we're gonna put our lower drawer back in, and if you just get it on both of the glides on the front, and then we'll lift up to get it over the tabs and just slide it on in. Now we're gonna put our flame spreader on. There are two tabs in the back that go into slots at the rear of the oven, and then line up with the holes at the front. Reattach our mounting screws. And then when we put this back in, we'll do it at kind of an angle to lock in the front. And then you can push back to properly align the rear two holes. And these kind of float, so there's some, they don't go right in. You might have to play with them a little bit. And these only need to be hand tight. Now we can reinstall our racks. And put our door back on. With these locked up like that, we'll just line up the hinges. And you know you have them lined up when it'll open like that. We'll put our locking tabs back into place and check to make sure it shuts right and that the light goes off, and we're all back together. Okay, so the original complaint on this oven was that it was there's a propane smell, and we have checked every single portion of the oven with our leak detector, and all leak checks are good. Thank you for watching another in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.